in Aurelia when we played the rainout game and lost. So we play. It comes down in buckets on the Saturday, and we were like, no way we're playing Saturday. No way we're playing Saturday. So Colin, you and I went to the casino.
Yeah.
So we ended up spending 12 hours in the casino, which we weren't drinking, so everybody else was. We go on a tour afterwards, pick everybody up, and drive back to the hotel. So butter was full, and the next morning we end up losing the debate on whether or not we're going to play. We end up playing Broken Bow in the morning, and there's a little nubber in front of. This is like, I don't know, let's call it 3-2 or 4-3 at the time of the game, whatever, in the 5th or 6th inning. And there's a little nubber in front of Butter, and Butter's playing third base. He runs in to pick it up, and he steps on his own glove and does a somersault right in front of him. He stood on his own glove with his hand in it, and face plants down. And,
ladies man, but I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once they use me.
Bye baseball.
My mother said it was naughty, I should take some of it back. But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very good.
And the lolly drops his glove, grabs Todd. The benches are clearing.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is brought to you by CoolBet. If you got a few extra bucks rattling around in your arse pocket, CoolBet Sportsbook will double your first deposit up to $200 when you use the bonus code DUSTUP. Head over to coolbet.com and get in on the fastest growing entertainment sector in the world. That bonus code again is DUSTUP, one word, all capital letters, DUSTUP. Oh, Mark Manning and Rum Ragged. What a way to start it off. I love that friggin' theme song, man. Hilly, what a friggin' episode we got lined up today, man. They're all wicked. Like, we're lucky to have the guests that we got. But when we started talking about piecing this one together, we got excited right off the bat. And no prelude. Let's just jump right into it. We are honored to have 2 of our heroes, mentors, just the 2 of the best guys you can ever meet in the fast pitch world and beyond. We got
fan favorites.
We got Todd Martin and Colin Abbott. Boys, what's going on?
I like that you put Todd Martin first over Colin Abbott. That's how you build that thing first and foremost. So keep that handy, boys.
Yeah.
Things are good. Things are good.
That's the only time tonight that'll happen.
Yeah. Boys, it's a thrill for us to have you on here. I know there's so many things. We got a laundry list of stuff that we want to go through with you, but I just want to start it off by saying we got a ton of funny stories, some really significant ball moments that you guys have been a part of. But I'll start right out of the gate and just what you guys have done for softball in Canada and for Hilly and I in particular. 2 of the most significant mentors, trailblazers. We're so fortunate to have you guys to look up to have the opportunity to play and learn from you, and just 2 of the best guys in the game. So having you on here is a thrill, but actually having you as we went through our ball career, I don't know if you really realize how impactful it has been on our career, but just wanted to start off by saying thank you to both of you for everything you did for us in our careers.
Hey, I'd say something. I'm starting to tear up here now a little bit, so I'm going to have
Holy fuck. See, you think people probably associating Dust Up with fighting or a few scraps.
No.
They're going to start thinking it's because we're spending half the episode balling.
That's right. That's okay, guys. It's okay. Like let it all out.
Nostalgic week.
Let it all out.
I thought it was Dust Up because the first time we went to the ISCs together, you guys threw us in the back of a John Deere and rolled and through the whole park in it.
Let's get into it right away then. Boys, that was so. Where is it? That was Fargo, right?
That was Fargo, 2004. Yeah, and Abby was holding court with all the young newfies, whatever. Everyone. I think that's where we started calling Abby Godfather.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was one of the spots where you're holding court with all the young newfies, and we're all sitting around laughing about Colin 6'3" standing over there with all these little newfies, years old, and they're all skinny little hairless faces. And we go sit in the back of the John Deere. We're having a beer, and Abby introduces to everybody, and Lolly jumps in the front of the fucking John Deere and takes off 100 miles an hour. Me and Abby are rolling around in the back like a couple of marbles. and it's the work truck for the ball diamond that he stole. And Abby and I are still in uniforms. We come out of that thing and we got more line on us. We're covered in white and dust and dirt and everything else that goes along with it.
Oh man, that was what the laughing, man, and hearing you guys in the back just howling because I don't know how far that friggin' the parking lot was huge, right? And we stuck around and we were going to get a ride back to the hotel with you guys. I think you had.
We're worried about the parking lot. We're worried about the trees.
But so I got into John Deere. The boys jumped in the back, and anyway, I fucking took off, just going laps, and then anyway, just got a little bit out of hand. You guys rolling around, nearly, we're heading into the playoffs of the ISC, and then got two of the best players on the planet just rolling around the back of it.
Fucking 34-year-old fucking rolling around the back of a John Deere tractor, and I come out looking like fucking Pepe Le Pew with a big white back while the line on the back of my likely blue jersey.
Oh, but when I think back to just when you get to that ISC World Tournament, and especially back in the mid 2000s, when you showed up to that tournament, there was a buzz. And there's so many of the superstar teams with the county materials, the farm, and then you get some of the guys in the game that are now more established, so really starting to break in. But the beer tents back then, after the games and after the 7:00 game leading into the 9:00 game, that was an event in itself. Just being around those beer tents and watching the late game, and two of you guys that I know, Marty, your element is standing on the mound in a big situation, Colin, you being in the batter's box, but a close second to seeing two of you guys in the beer tent.
We did pretty good in both places, I think. So,
yeah. I mean,
but you're right, though, Lolly. When and Abby and I are a lot older than you guys, but when we started going to the ISCs in the early '90s, when you walk in that park, whether it was ours was, I think our first one, Abby, was Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
And you walk in there, and certainly the first time you walk into Kimberly, I think ours was probably 90. What was that? 3 and 6 or
93. Yeah.
The buzz that you get in there. The place is packed, right? You're in there in the opening ceremonies if you're lucky enough not to play on the Friday night. The opening ceremonies on Saturday, and you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,000 fans, whatever it is. You'd have every food, fast food place down the one baseline. You got beer tents. You got the atmosphere was unbelievable back then. It was so much fun to be a part of too, right? So, and then of course, after you win a game back then, you get a day off. So what do you do when you get a day off? You make the best of the night before.
Absolutely, yeah. That's. I remember, Hilly. What was our first year then that you went to Frankenmuth? Was it 2003?
2003, yeah. That was my first IC in Kimberly.
Because the ASA that year, I believe it was in Midland, and we went.
Won it.
You guys won it?
Yes,
Yeah. So I'm 19 years old going down. That's the first year away. So that was, and I didn't get to go to ISC that year. So I knew the ASA was going to be the premier event to get to see these top teams play. And so met up with Hilly there, and Johnny, your father, came down to watch. My dad was there too. And we went on that back diamond to go watch the farm play. And Marty, I didn't know you very well at all back then, but we knew, I didn't know you, Colin, but knew these are the guys, right? So we wanted to go down and see Colin Abbott hit. And so down, Hilly, do you remember down that back diamond, me and you went down, and I don't know who you were playing with.
I know who you were playing because I remember distinctly you were playing Steve Schott's team.
That fun, it was basically Broken Bow from Schott.
Yeah, it was Doc's team. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah. I remember it because, I don't know if you're going to talk about Abby getting hit, but I'll tell that story in a second too. So.
Well, no, I want to hear that story. Well, it's the complete opposite, right? So we go in, we get down there, and the timing couldn't have worked out better. Abby's on deck, right? We go in, so okay, here's Colin Abbott, our hero, getting ready to get up in the ASA, and he's standing out. I don't even know who's pitching. We were just watching him hit, right? Laser focus. Anyway, second pitch, because you're not swinging at the first one, right? Man, you hit the ball so fucking hard. It was a line drive that hit the second baseman in the kneecap, and then it ricocheted off his knee and went to the gap for a stand-up double. It's like,
E4. That's a You got a one hopper at a second baseman, got to be caught.
Man, it was the hardest fucking ball I've ever seen hit in my life.
Well, we drew that ASAs was a blind draw. So Doesn't matter if you're the first ranked team in the world, you can play the second ranked team in the world on the first game. And it just so happened as the draw went, we drew Broken Bow. It was Shotzi's, I can't remember the name of the town or whatever. It was a little podunk town that Shotzi grew up. That was the name of the team, but in essence, it was Broken Bow. So we draw them the first game, and I can't remember what time the game was, but first pitch of the game, Frank Cox out there throwing 100 miles an hour. And Abby's first at bat, and as soon as Frank let go of the ball, Abby starts screaming because he knows it's gonna hit him. And it hit him right in the boiler. So first pitch, just screaming. He screamed the whole 46 feet the ball came in and hit him right in the stomach. And of course, Abby and I are rooming together, and Abby bruised from his belt buckle to his chin for the rest of the
I had a bruise from my belly button all the way around to the middle of my back.
Yes.
And yeah, it struck me like dead on. No glancing blow at all. Struck me freaking right in the boiler. And like I said, Coxie's out there throwing the ball a million miles an hour. Sometimes you don't know exactly where it's going.
Kelso fast pitch, I think they were.
Kelso?
Is that what they were called?
Kelso, yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, it was Kelso. Kelso.
Yeah, but you're right, Marty. It was Broken Bow basically with the Kelso form on. But yeah, with the blind draw, you didn't know what you're getting into. Like you could have faced anybody off the hopper, and of course we go out there and get Frank right off the bat. So
not too often, Frank Tavern against Frank Cox in the back diamond in Midland.
Yeah, bad guy in the first game.
yeah.
That happened to the farm a couple of times, and we told that. I think a story when we were talking to Grazer too, when you were down in the ASA in 07, you got the blind draw again where you had to come out and play Cheese, I think it was, or Musey or one of them.
It was Broken Bow.
It was Broken Bow, yeah. We that was one of the years where we 07 and 09, our first game was against Cheese beat us the first game, and Hilly, who beat us in 09?
Brian Newton.
Newton beat us in the first game, so we got to come back and play 15 freaking games in 3 days or something, and we made the final in 07 and won in 09. But yeah, you get the blind draw, and that's, there's no favorites. They pick it out of a hat or do what they do, and you play who you play. And if you're unfortunate enough in our case, 2 of those 3 years of getting someone that's tough right off the bat.
That's what makes that tournament unique, though. Like, there's so many things that make that ASA a premier event. It's completely different approach to going into that tournament than it is the ISC or Canadians or something like that. But yeah, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw, right? Because the ranking doesn't play as much of a role as it does through the ISC side of things. But one thing I don't think I've ever asked you guys, when did your friendship really start to take off? I'll ask you, Marty. When do you remember you and Abby really starting to link up and start your friendship?
I think probably we didn't know we knew of each other, I guess, coming out of junior, and then he went to Green Bay, Abby went to Green Bay, and I went to Aurora, Illinois. So we started to talk a little bit through those years. We're playing each other. We're a couple of young Canadians, and I guess highly touted, I guess probably is what you'd say about it. So we knew we were kind of linked in that sense. I guess we probably, I don't know, when we started doing the Team Canada, we roomed together for 10 years, basically, or whatever it was. But that started probably 96, Abby, or 96, 97, I guess. But we knew each other pretty well going into that. We were husband and wife almost for 10 years after that. So,
I was the husband, by
the way. We played. I played Abby in the Junior Canadians in Newfoundland in 1991, and that wasn't Abby. Abby left Newfoundland, went to Lloydminster for join the super team sort of thing. Came back, and he wasn't very well liked in Newfoundland at that point. And he had a pretty tough tournament, as I remember. So Abby went over 3, and I struck him out one time. So we go down to Aurora. We go down to Aurora the next year, and for whatever reason, Colin didn't start that game. And it was I think it was the May 4th tournament, Abby. I don't know if you remember this. And Abby didn't play. We probably played 5 games. It was probably, 4 degrees out. So Abby didn't start. So they bring him in to pinch hit in the 6th. And Greg Stockton comes down the line, and Stocks is an All-American catcher for Aurora, probably 37, 38 years old at the time. We're just kids. And he comes down. He says, hey, Martin, he said, this young Newfoundland kid they're bringing in to hit says, what's he hit? I said, nothing I fucking seen. Anyway, so I laughed at that, and then Stockton goes out there and throws him a rise ball, and Abby hits the first pitch about 3 feet off the ground, off the fence. Never left the 3 feet. So hits it just an absolute bullet. Stockton says, yeah, good scouting report.
But I mean, back then especially going to Green Bay, you might go to Aurora or Bloomington, Decatur. You're driving 6 or 7 hours, then you're going to play a 4-game set, like
Every weekend.
Yeah, a commonplace for us to do that. I mean, and then there was a Decatur shootout and all the other tournaments there too. But you go to Midland, Michigan, and you face Brad Underwood and Peter Finn in games on Saturday night and 2 games on Sunday. Probably go, 0 for 12, 0 for 14. Get back in your car and drive 8 hours and go back home again. It's like, thanks for coming, boys. Thanks for driving right around Lake Michigan.
And play 4 or 6 games during the week too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, we would play in Green Bay, and we play, what was a fun league, and you go to the ballpark and Jackson's thrown against you. It was a New Zealand national team pitcher. So I mean, you had no choice but to get better, because if you never got better, you'd after the year you'd be gone home and never be heard again. So that was, I mean, Marty, same thing. I mean, you're right in the middle of everything. So you're driving 3-4 hours here or wherever, and you're just playing all the time. And it was a fantastic way to start a senior career.
Yeah, people wonder why we know everybody, Abby. Like, we played everybody back then, right? So there wasn't anybody who didn't play, right? So in the Midwest, you drive 10 hours to a tournament or a 4-game set, and every which way you turned, you're running into great teams, great ball players, great pitchers. You played everybody.
And me and Abby have talked about it before. Like, the length of a season, what we play right now, say, like, we might play, I don't know, 3-4 weekends leading up to the ASA, ISC, but compared to what you guys played back then, it was just crazy. Like, how long was your actual season in your?
We started. Well, Tampa was when I played in Tampa. Whatever, we start the first week in April, and we'd bring teams in, and we play every weekend in April and every weekend in May in Tampa or in Clearwater, and teams come down for a 4-game set, just get their ass kicked because they'd hit the beach, they'd hit the bar, they get sunburnt, they go crazy with the booze, whatever, and we'd sit back and beat everybody up. But April and May, we do that for 8 weeks, and then you got June, July, where you're traveling around to go all the tournaments, and then August to get the Worlds, and then that's back when the ASAs were 3rd week September. So you still played, right? You played up until the ASAs, which was 3 weeks into September. So you're almost October when you're done ball. So it was April 1 till October in probably the early 90s.
That's crazy, man.
We started in with the farm. I mean, we started in first weekend of May. We'd start in Arizona, then we'd end up in Vegas to go to the St. George tournament. Then we'd go somewhere else, and then we'd host a weekend. And so for the first month, you're like, I'm in Newfoundland, you're flying all over God's creation to get going anyway. But like, that was what you did. And, that's just the schedule. We used to have Memorial Day weekend off and July 4th weekend off from the 1st of May. And then, like Marty said, back in the early days, you went right to the middle of September. I usually missed the first 2 weeks of university. So I was still playing ball down in the States. Right. So it wasn't, and then you're playing a game or two throughout the week as well. So you're getting in 60, 70, 80 games of ball in a season. And that's just, and once again, you had you had to get better because, you're facing all these great pitchers. Marty getting to face the best hitters around, and you had to get better. There was no way around it.
Well, and that's the season once it kicks off. And I know the way when it kicked off back then, especially with people coming over it was competitive right from day one. And then I know both of you guys, a part of your reputation around the game is not just how you showed up when the season started, but it was the preparation that went into the season, the off season. And I know, Hilly, we were talking about it earlier today, that when, I don't know how old you were, but when you got the tap on the shoulder from Abby to go help him train, what was that story?
I think I might have been 19 or 20 or whatever it was that you were training to go to. And you probably remember this. You were training to New Zealand.
Yeah.
I said, and Saturday, and you were picking me up to go to a gym to give you some BP because I was one of the better pitchers in Newfoundland at the time.
Yes, yeah, of course. Yeah.
But anyway, being a young college kid and probably not a great drinker and probably still not a great drinker, but anyway, me and the boys got on. We had a few drinks Friday night, maybe a few too many, and got home a little late, got a little sick. Just praying that you would forgot all about this little Saturday you had lined up for us. No, boy, sure enough, you come pick me up at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was fairly close to death. I remember you wanted to hit, we didn't have indoor softballs or anything. You wanted to hit tennis balls. I said, okay, this should be good here now. So you didn't have any. And I remember going 4 or 5 sleeves of tennis balls. I remember being in the checkout with you. And I looked at you and I said, Colin, can you buy me this apple juice? My mouth was stuck together. Anyway, you bought me this apple juice. We go up to the RNC gym. It was like a little rocky gym, maybe the size of a half of a school gymnasium. And here I am, hungover, sick, probably inebriated, firing tennis balls at you. There's balls coming at me like shots all over the place. Chuck and duck. Trying not to chuck and puke. Worst days of my life.
Oh,
Well, you the chuck and duck for you pitching against me, Hilly, that kind of continued on into your senior career as well at Lions Park, right?
Yeah, we'll get to it, I'm sure.
I mean, we're not going to talk about you walking the base loaded.
We're going to talk about that.
I don't know if you're going to. I'm not sure if that was in the itinerary or not, right?
We are going to talk about it right friggin' now because it drives me fucking up the wall hearing Hilly talk about all his pitching prowess. And you're not a pitcher, man. You're a designated hitter now, which is anyway. But Hilly, Marty, you'll like this story too. So I think
I was trying to remember. Was that your last at bat? Was that your last game in league here? Was that your last season? At bat?
No, it was getting there, but it wasn't my last year.
Oh, okay. Anyway, whatever it was.
So Hilly, you tell the story, man, because it's one of my favorite stories.
We were in league finals. Colin was playing for the Bonefinch, they were called, and we were 3 Cheers Pub. And it was league finals, 4 out of 7. You guys were up, was it 3-0 or were you up 3-1?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 3-1, we'll say. And anyway, it was getting late in the game. I think it was 0-0. It was like 5th or 6th inning. And I'm pitching, throwing a blinder, mind you.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And then anyway, so this particular inning, I'm pretty sure it was the bottom of the 6th. And they start off with their number 9 batter. And it's whoever it was, I walked him. Then lead off with Saki. I walked Saki. Fucking can't find his zone. Their next batter, Keith Maynard. I walk Keith Maynard, and here comes Abby. So anyway, first pitch, he lets go like he usually does. I don't know why I didn't throw a strike. Next pitch, I said, I'll get him now an outside drop out. Now you hit it opposite field. There's a bit of gas behind it, mind you.
Yes, yeah, a little late. Yeah.
Right? Anyway, off the scoreboard, grand slam. We end up losing the game 4-0. Abby and then those guys win the championship, celebration awards. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm walking to the clubhouse after the game like we normally do, having a few beers, season's over. So as I'm walking up over the hill, I just meet my old man. He's just there looking at me, clapping his hands, like give me the slow clap when I walk up. I'm still kind of a little bit pissed off. I wanted to keep playing. I'm like, what's going on? Fuck, what's your problem? He said, congratulations. He said, you set a fast pitch record. I'm like, what are you talking about? He said, you're the only pitcher in fast pitch softball history to walk the bases loaded to get the Colin Abbott. And I said, give me a beer.
Yeah. But guys, you just looking at the sheet here we got from both of you, it'll take us an hour just to read through the accomplishments and some of the great teams that you had to play with, and we'll get into some of the specifics on that as we go along. But Marty, there's a legendary story going around the softball community about when you guys played nationals one year together. And was it in Halifax? Where this story, there's on field and off field. But can you walk us through that tournament or some of the stories from it?
Yeah, I mean, we can't even see this in the straight face. Like, it's which story? Like, that was that was the year that the Halifax Jaguars and the Keesey had their little dust up. So they split up, and Mark Smith was with the Rudolphs, and they really wanted to go get the Keys. So they came after Abby and I pretty hard. We got a lot of gas money for that one, as I remember correctly, Abby.
Yes, yeah.
But they brought us in, I'm going to say maybe 3 or 4 days before the tournament started even.
Yeah.
And they put us, so they put us on the highway somewhere in a little shag carpet motel. Ricky DeBlanc stayed one day with us, and we got drunk. We got drunk, came in the first night and tripped over Ricky LeBlanc's cot. And he says, I got to get out of here. I'm not staying. So Ricky left. So me and Abby, we're just kind of sitting there looking at each other going, this isn't what I was going to be. So we phoned the Rudolphs up and said, boys, if you're going to put us out in this godforsaken highway with nothing around, at least give us a car. So they said, you don't like where you're staying? I said, have you seen where we're staying? And they said, pack your shit. We'll be out there, pick you up in 20 minutes. So true to their word, great guys, great time we had out there. They came out and picked us up and took us down to the Sheridan on the Ocean, which had the casino on the bottom of it. So if everyone knows Colin, that's just, that's catnip for him. So we could probably sit there. We could tell 15, 20 stories about staying on the Sheridan on the Ocean beside the lower deck, which happened to have the Newfoundland band, the great Newfoundland band Signal Hill playing that week as well.
One of the best.
Which didn't help us, but which story you want to tell? You want to talk about the?
There's a casino.
My
story.
Chips one, or which one?
Yeah,
that one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So we went again. We're like 3-4 days in here, and we're lighting the candle at both ends. So we go to the ballpark. I think we lost the Keys in extra innings the first game. We had them beaten. We had them losing. And then we stunk. I think we stunk it up again, or maybe we might have won 1-1 the next day. Anyways, we played Owen Sound. I think it was on the Monday morning and the Sunday night. So Abby and I, we go back to the hotel and we're going to say, should we go get a drink? And Abby's like, no, let's be the voice of reason here and say, let's just go down to the hotel lobby and we'll get something to eat and then we'll tuck her in early at night. We got Owen Sound tomorrow morning. They're one of the best teams going. So we'll behave tonight. So we go down to the hotel lobby, great intentions. Hotel lobby's closed. So we'll slip across the lower deck and we'll get some fish and chips across there. we had a beer and some fish and chips. And then you hear the bring of the chords warming up on the guitar and Abby sees Signal Hill and I says, well, we're going to have another beer now. So we end up sitting there until that place closed and we drank our face off there. So we're standing outside and we're going, well, we might as well go play some cards. So, this is, 11 o'clock, probably Sunday night in Halifax after the bar closes. So we go across, we start playing cards and Abby's playing roulette and I'm playing blackjack and we're both pretty much full by then. I see Abby get up and he goes to the washroom and I see him come back and because we're kind of like right across from one another where we're sitting 30, 40 feet apart. And he stops a table short of where he's supposed to be playing. And I know exactly what he did. He stopped a table short of where he's playing. So next thing you know, we see the light Asian guy, whatever, sitting beside Abby, and Abby's kind of pushing him away with his backhand. And it was getting a little heated over there, right? So then you see Abby waddle over to his table and he sits down, he takes his glasses off like this and he puts his head down. He's rubbing his head and he's giving her one of these and he's waving back to the other table. Then he puts his glasses back on. He looks up and I got tears rolling right down my face because I know exactly what happened. And Abby saw me and he started roaring. He just let loose and he had to get up and start walking around. He was laughing so hard. He was killing himself laughing. So, now security's watching us. Those guys are watching us and they're sitting on one to the left, one to the right, one in front of us. And they're kind of watching to see what's going on. So then Abby decides to come over and play blackjack with me. And we're sitting there. And I said, Abby, you've caused a bit of a ruckus here. And so he's telling me a story. And I already knew exactly what he did. And I said, look at the security guards. They're all kind of pinpointing us here and they're triangling us and they're watching us. So then Abby starts calling them the Dream Police. So Abby's yelling, hey, the Dream Police are coming to watch us. Hey, pit boss, get us a couple of beer, will you? He's getting on them. So we had a pretty legendary night. Not to mention, I think that was the night of the Aces, wasn't it, Abby?
Yes, that was eights.
Oh, eights, yeah. Sorry, eights, yeah. So
I get like I said, we've been like this poor Asian guy must be thinking, like, when I walk back and I'm like bumping this little Asian guy out of the way, he must be thinking, like, what the fuck's going on here, right? Big fucking guy's coming at me. And I was convinced that he was sitting in my spot playing my chips, right? And then I was getting pissed off. I get a bit frustrated. I'm like, what the fuck? And I turn around and oops. But yeah, we're playing, after all this is over and we're playing blackjack. I'm betting $100 or whatever the hell it was, and I get a pair of 8s, so I split them, and I get another 8. And of course, you got to split that. Then I got one double down, Marty. After that,
I think you got 2 double downs, didn't you?
Yeah, $400 or $500 on the table. I can't even see the cards. I know what I'm doing, right? And it was Bobby Badir behind us.
Yeah, it was a lot of ball players there, but Bobby Badir was the guy that came over and had $1,000 of his own money on the table by this point. And Bobby Badir just looks up, and I don't know if you guys don't know Bobby or whatever. So he's I think he was an AHL. He was a tough guy in the AHL too, great hockey player, but 6'3", cut from stone. And he just looks at us and says, I can't watch this. This is nerve-wracking for me. I got to get out of here. He peels out of there because he can't even watch it. So
yeah, it was. I'll tell you how good or bad it was, depending on how you look at it. The next year, Investors Group, who IG Wealth Management, I'll put a plug in for the boys, I guess.
There you go.
Investors Group, who I'm working with, has got a conference in Halifax. So this is a full year later. So, of course, you're in Halifax, right? You're down in the downtown area. Hey, well, let's go. Sit in the bar at the casino and have a beer. So I go in and I'm not sat down, and one of the waiters comes over and goes, Colin, how you doing? What do you like another Keys? I'm sitting there with my shirt and tie on, like, what's going on here? People are looking at me like I'm, got a problem, which maybe I do, but
yeah, lost in that as we played Owen Sound the next morning, 9:00 in the morning, and we're drawing straws as he was going to get us to the ballpark in the morning, and I think I 13 hitter and 3 1/3.
Yeah, that was yeah. But Marty, I'll tell you this one now. We were at the beer tent. It was probably after that game. Anyway, I open up my wallet. There is 30 Todd Martin softball cards in there. Right? I had every slot of my wallet was Todd Martin. Then I reach in the back of my ball pants. There's fucking Todd Martin the softball cards in the back of my pants. Up there everywhere, right? So I'm trying to get money out. There's cards falling all over the place.
I remember that one because you went to buy a round at the beer tent the one time, and I put a picture of me where your wife's picture is, Michelle. So I throw my ball card right where Michelle's picture is, and Abby can't even hardly order the beer whenever he's laughing so hard. So,
well, I bring that up because last week we got our kitchen living room area redone. So we're cleaning out all this shit. And what do I find? A Todd Martin softball card. There you go. Rather than my TV. It's fucking 30 years later. I can't get away from him.
I haven't changed a bit, have I?
Yeah, you're still as good looking as you were back then, yeah.
So it was around that time, 98, 99, I think, when both you guys, or maybe you joined at different years, both you guys joined the farm. So take us through your farm days and what it was like to play for the legendary Rod Peterson.
You started, Abby. You go first.
I started in 98. Actually, I was going to go to the Smokers where Todd was still playing at that time. I was going to go to the Smokers. One thing led to another. Anyway, I decided to go with the farm. Playing for the Farm Tavern is a treat just to be around Rod. He's such a great guy. He's a genuine guy. And everybody loved him, right? He was down to earth, farmer. And, you really don't get an idea about what you're into until you play for a guy like Rod. Because, like I said, it was just, all these stories that we have, most of the beer tent stories came from the fact that we as a team wanted to go to the beer tent and drink with Rod and listen to his stories. And, you think we had tough schedules. Usually what these guys played when Rod played, right? Like they'd be home, one night a week. They'd be home on Monday to wash their uniforms from the weekend.
Wow.
And they drive on Tuesday from Madison to Kimberley, which is like 3 hours. Then they come home, drive home, play local league on Wednesday in Madison, and then drive again on Thursday to Kimberley or Kaukauna, wherever the league was, and leave again on Friday to go play the weekend tournament. Like it's crazy. All the stories that were told. Yeah. Like hear all the stories in the beer tents that were told, especially by Rod and what they used to do. And you just wanted to be around the guy. It was the bottom line. You wanted to be around him. And even fellas that weren't on these ball teams wanted to be around him. Right. And, that's just the kind of guy he was. He's a magnetic personality, certainly. But just to be in a beer tent and to be able to, sit down next to him and laugh. And I mean, Todd, you and Rod were as close could be. I mean, when you showed up in 98 or 99, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, we had it. Yeah. Like I love, there's no two ways about it or whatever. I love my time with the farm. It was, I put him on a pedestal too. Right. So just the amount of fun we had, like Christ almighty, it was, you can't even count on one hand, or you can't even count, on one hand, how many times you laugh your guts out on a weekend sort of thing. Right. So every weekend. So he loved the game. He loved being at the ballpark and he loved the guys. Right. So he's a guy's guy. Right. So there's no ifs, ands or buts about that. And some of the shit oh Christ, don't just, him drinking, so, I always made the joke, whatever, after I got to know Rod after the first couple of years when I had Algar and Henniger as my pitching compadres. They had him figured out before I got there. So it took me a little bit to figure him out. But if I didn't want to pitch the morning game against for whatever reason, usually because I pitched the night before, I just say, hey, Skipper, we should maybe go belly up at a bar somewhere and have a couple of cocktails. He'd never say no. He'd never say no. And then, that turned into 1, turned into 2, turned into 10. And then he'd say next morning, well, no way Martin's pitching. He was with me last night. So, but yeah, he was bigger in the game, right? So he's just a ball of fun.
I mean, just a local, we're playing in Kimberley and we're playing, in the Kimberley tournament or Grathmire, whatever it was, Friday night after your game, you look forward to that game being over. We sit down in the beer tent. We were a beer tent team. Most of us were anyway. I'll often tell the story that once my farm tyrant uniform came off, I was going to bed. Now that could have been 10 o'clock in the evening or 4 o'clock in the morning, but whenever that was,
usually 4.
Usually closer to 4 than it was to 10. But whenever that was, like that was it for me. I was done for the evening. But you look forward to sitting in the bleachers in Kimberley. You can get a 2-4 beer in Kimberley for like $30 or $20 or whatever it was. So you couldn't afford not to drink. And like, just to sit down and talk and laugh. And like Marty said, I mean, geez, we would sit there and laugh for hours. And boys telling stories and, about everything, softball and otherwise. But you so look forward to it. I mean, coming from Newfoundland, it was a long slog to get to wherever the hell you're playing. So you're flying, all morning, but you really look forward to that evening to get down, have a few beers with the boss and just laugh and be with your buddies.
Especially on a Friday night, because you knew Friday night we're going to win 9.5 or 3/4 times out of 10 on just whatever tournament we go to every year with the farm. So you knew Friday night was going to be a big night. And you fly all day to get there, or whatever, and it was a ball, right? So we talked about Rod, about some of the shit he used to do. You remember we're sitting outside a circle tap the one night, and he wanted to put a dip in. So we're standing there, and we're all just kind of in a circle, and so Rod gets the idea he's gonna put this beer, his open beer, in his
his pockets.
His pocket while he takes a dip out. So he's putting the dip in, and all of a sudden the beer starts rolling down his leg out of his pocket. 3/4 of a beer in his farm jacket pocket, and it doesn't hold water very well too. And we're just sitting there, you in there, Skipper? You got some problems going on, right? So,
but I mean,
he'd hold court, right? So he'd hold court. It was always about him, right? So when we're in the beer tent, you just wanted to listen to him.
No, I was going to say, but he was as competitive as anybody as well. Like he did not like to lose either. And Marty, when we lost that game in Oak Cliff, we lost it. No, it was wasn't Kegel. It was to
the Black Knights or whatever they're called, right?
Yeah, they were. But anyway, so we lose to a team that we shouldn't have lost to. Like, Eau Claire, next to the World Tournament, Eau Claire was Rod's tournament, right? That's the one he wanted to win.
Yeah.
This is Sunday morning at 8:30 too, right?
Yeah, the quarterfinal game. We're playing a team that we should win, should beat, and they beat us 1-0. So Rod just leaves, doesn't even shake hands, which is not like him. But anyway, he just leaves, and crazy LeBlanc is, he's got his gear in Rod's Corvette. So Rod opens the trunk, takes Crazy's gear, and chucks it in the middle of the parking lot. Slams the trunk, drives off. So Crazy's sitting in the beers. Yeah, we're having a few beers. It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. So we're having a few beers, watching the game. So whenever Crazy...
This is 2 o'clock, but this is 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, right? So...
Sitting there for a few hours.
So by the time Crazy figures it out, he goes out and his gear is all over the parking lot.
Well, a guy comes in. A guy comes in and says, "You guys are the farm?" I said, "Yeah, we're the farm." He says, "Well, there's a whole bunch of farm stuff, luggage and gear and everything. It's sitting right in the middle of the parking lot." And Crazy sitting beside us, and Crazy just goes, "Yep, that'd be mine."
He knew.
I know what he did. Oh, yeah. So that's what 3-hour drive, 3.5-hour drive. So yeah, Crazy. I think he had to hitchhike home.
What was that story he loved to tell, Marty, about Abby getting called out outside, hitting the ball outside the box?
Oh, screaming at us! No, that was in St. Joe's. Abby, remember? Abby hits one off the fence. I think we're losing. I think we're losing that game. Alfie started, and they got a bunch off Alfie. I think it was Heflin. Abby gets up in the third or fourth inning, whatever. And I've been giving Abby shit for years because he's always standing. You just, you see where Abby stands. He just gets an inch farther behind the box all the time. I swear the umpire one game. So Abby hits a double off the wall, and he gets to second base, and the umpire calls him out. So calls him. You remember this, Abby? He calls Abby out. Abby comes back at the bench, and he's pissed off, and he throws his helmet down. He sits down on the bench. He looks at me. He says, "What the fuck?" And I look at him. I said, "In a fucking box." Then fucking Abby turns on me. He says, "Fuck you, you leaping, cheating, jumping, no good." And Rod told the story every weekend he could for the next 5 years. He says, "Abby's coming for a hug from me, right?" And I give it to him. Abby gives it back to Rod. He loved telling that story. So Abby just started screaming about me crow hopping and cheating and jumping and everything else that goes along with pitching. So
if all you pitchers would 2-foot and drag like you're supposed to, I'd be more to be in the box. Not
I'm with you, Abby. I'm freaking
right.
With you,
but you're hopping and jumping and skipping and jumping sideways and doing it all, and then you get pissed off for us for being half an inch out the back of the batter's box. Like it's.
Are you saying I didn't push and drag?
What?
I thought I was a push and dragger.
yeah. In some beer tents, maybe you were pushing. You were when you were on the rover.
But
Skipper liked telling that story.
Yeah.
But boys, you're too good on the field not to dig in and pick your brain on a few different things. Abby, I'm going to start with you. Just going down as probably the best hitter to ever play the game. Very unique approach to hitting, professional approach, but you had a very unique batting stance. And when we all looked up to you coming into the ISC and watching you on Team Canada, and you always hear these stories about not just your hand-eye or your power, your patience, but the pick and pitchers side of things, the studying of the game. And how did you get into picking pitchers? And can you share to some of the people that might be listening out there how you approach doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even know what picking a pitcher was. I mean, Hilly, Lolly, we come up in Newfoundland. That was not something that was even like no one knew it, no one understood it, nobody did it. So it wasn't like there was any history when I first left here and went, playing ball. For me, it wasn't always about picking the pitcher. I mean, if it was obvious, yes. I mean, you knew guys did certain things and you could pick a pitcher. And Marty, we've had this discussion many times. For me, it was they always did something as they're releasing the ball, something that would tip you off to what was coming. And it was, I don't know if it was a sixth sense type of thing. I don't want to get too, metaphysical because I'm not.
Here we go.
Yeah, but that's the biggest word I'll say tonight. I'll put it that way. But it's more about something that you do. I think it's a level of focus that you're so focused on the ball coming out that you see something. And I think it's just, I think we just pick up the ball. I just picked up the ball quicker than most, probably was one of the bigger, was what it was. And you don't necessarily have a pick on the guy right away, but just as he releases the ball, you saw something. And it was different for everybody, certain tilt the body, certain arm angle, whatever it was. But it was something that was, again, I guess I had an innate ability to pick up things quicker than other people did. Because, I mean, I've talked to a lot of hitters, and I ask them, when do you pick up the ball? And they're like, well, halfway in. That's tough if you only pick that ball up and it's halfway in. These guys are good, right? So I just think it was in some type of innate ability to see things a little bit quicker than most. And that was, from a picking pitcher's point of view, there's a lot of guys out there a hell of a lot better at that than I was. But I think the level of focus and being able to pick things up early is where I got most of my, kind of an advantage as to, as the ball was coming in.
I asked Abby the one time after we started rooming together, we played against each other for a few years, obviously. And I asked him, I said, I can't throw a changeup. I could never throw a changeup because he just knew it was coming. So I asked him, I said, how do you, where do you get me? You got to get me somewhere. And he said, it's like telepathy. You're an asshole. That's what you're an asshole. I can't work with telepathy, right? So I can't fix telepathy.
But I want to know with you, Marty, because you take that information and take it back to hone your game and make changes. So I know we talked about it a few times around how you kind of set hitters up and what you do to. I remember I tried to pick you for years. Now I own you. We know that. I own you as a hitter.
If you're going to Taco Bell to get a taco, yeah, you own me. You got 67 cents.
I hit that. I hit that 500-foot home run off you that you say only went 230 feet, but we'll
67.
Agree. we'll agree to disagree. But you were getting your grip above your head on the way down.
Sometimes.
That's insane when I think about that, when you're pitching at that level. But can you kind of just elaborate on just that in particular, when you're getting the grip that way?
Yeah, well, that was not by design. That was by, necessity for a few years too, right? So, we talk about the beer tent, we talk about all the fun stories, but the stuff behind the scenes, like Hilly mentioned about Colin going to hit tennis balls in the gym. No one talks about that stuff when we're talking about this stuff, right? So, I worked really, really hard at trying to be a really good pitcher, and part of that was trying to figure out how I'm getting picked, who's picking me, where they're picking me, how you get me. I asked a lot of questions. I got a lot of answers. I got a lot that I believed, a lot I didn't believe. And I did a ton of work in the mirror. We didn't have slow motion video back when we were doing all this stuff. So everything was done in mirrors, right? So I had a full length mirror and I used to just sit there and drive into it to figure out where people could get me. And like Abby said, some people have the ability to, slow that part down and see it earlier. And if you look really hard, that little hitch that me or Z or Undy or any of these guys have, you can see some stuff up top. So I got to a point where, especially this is like late 90s, when the pitching rules were a lot tougher on the pitchers, they made us do a lot more things than they do now. I got to the point where I just wouldn't even get a grip on the ball until I was halfway through my windup. So wow. I'd be coming through and then
that's incredible.
But I had that little hitch, right? So I had a little pause, give me a chance to do that. So, and there's still some put down or could see something. And, Mark Sorensen's a good one of that too, right? So he was always good at it. And there was guys that could not hit if they didn't know it was coming, right? So guys that would hit 400 on every ISC tournament because they knew it was coming. As soon as you throw a little wrinkle into that, they struggle with it. So they struggle with, you throw right down the middle with a rise ball or a drop ball and they wouldn't see it because they're just relying on their pick. So, but I worked, you had to work hard at it, right? So it was life and death.
Dust Up with Hilly and Lolly is supported by Miller Lite. Great Pilsner taste with only 90 calories and 3 grams of carbs per serving. After a tough game, it's always Miller time. Please drink responsibly.
So continuing on with this hitting and pitching, like obviously you got, like Marty, you're a lot of hitters' worst nightmares and vice versa. Same with Abby, as far as pitchers go, nobody wants to see it come to the plate. But I guess more so for the listeners, who would be a couple or the toughest say pitcher, Abby, you would have faced over your career and hitter outside of myself and Malali, Marty, for you, the tougher hitters that you might have thrown to?
So I didn't, the dead pull guys or whatever, I didn't really care about so much. So it was the guys that hit back out the middle that scared the shit out of me. So those are I don't care if you hit it 500 feet off, you just don't hit me in the face. So, when it comes to scaring you, so like Abby's more of a dead pull hitter, and we played a lot together as opposed to apart. So it didn't scare me as much as a guy like Rychek, for instance, who I would put Gory, right? So Rychek would stand 1.5 feet outside the back of the box as well as behind the box too. So he was way back there, and he'd dive across and he'd drive stuff back up the middle. That scared the shit out of me. Jody Henniger was another guy that he'd wail his bat and scream and so on and so forth. And that's scary to me. Right. So those are the guys that, you don't have a chance to react right when you're hitting the ball in the middle. So
you got a Jody Henniger story?
Lolly, yeah. Hilly and Lolly, you just scared me.
Yeah. But you got a funny, was it the first time you faced Jody Henniger? I know you told that story a few times, but it
wasn't the first time I faced. Yeah, in the ASAs '95, and yeah, it was. We were playing them. I think it was in the 3-4 game or 2-3 whatever 3-4 game or no, I think it was a game to get into the semifinals. So yeah, 3-4 game. And they bring Jody, and Jody didn't start. Scheller started pitching, so Jody's on the bench. They're supposed to beat us 100-0, right? So I got on a bit of a tear. So we got into we got going pretty good in the backside, and they bring Jody in to hit in the ninth. I think it was the ninth thing. So he's leading off the ninth inning, and Gasaway comes out and starts talking to me, and I said, you know what? Let's go at him. I said, let's see. He's hitting 1,200 off me lifetime, right? So every time he gets to the park too. So. I'm young. I said, let's just go at him. We're on a roll. Let's see what happens. So I throw a rise ball 100 miles an hour, and he fouls it straight back with his big recoil and grunt and scream and everything else. And he's pointing his bat at me after he recoils. And I look at Gasser. I said, fuck it, put him on. He says, so one. I said, put him on.
He was as frightening of a hitter, like when I first played with Allcar in '92, Jody played with Clearwater in '92, went to the farm, I believe, in '93, and just unbelievable. Like he's whipping that bat around, helicoptering that bat around, and like look out. And he could hit as hard as he swung. He could hit change ups. He could hit the ball the other way. It was just for about a 5 or 6 year period. And I'm sure long before that, before I got to really see him, he's just a monster, right? Just incredible what he could do. You mentioned, you talk about the grip, Marty, with getting your grip. That's where I got your changeup, by the way.
That's information I could have used maybe 18 years ago.
Well, no, but no one hit your change. Not like people hit your change, Marty. Sure. It's not like anyone was hitting it, right? But when you grabbed it, you used to kind of cock your wrist a little bit up above your head. That's where I was getting it. Like no one else was hitting, so not like I was going to, if I told you, it would make a difference because we're, no, you were fucking making guys look sick with it for years. But a guy like Darren Zach, for example, the first couple of years I faced Darren, not that I faced him a lot because he was on the West Coast, but like mesmerizing with the change ups and, then he'd whip a Ross ball past you, then he'd throw one of his 6 or 8 change ups at you. And it was just, it was mind boggling. But you go back to getting your grip. Darren never got his grip till he was halfway through his motion as well, right? And until I figured that out, if I had 3 bats in my hand, I wouldn't have got a base hit off. Wow. But that's go back to what we talked about. Like those are the little things in the game, especially in our game. It's so hard to hit. These pitchers, Marty and all, they're so good that it's so hard to hit, right? You got to figure something out because if you don't figure it out, you're going to go 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts and a 1 hopper back to the pitcher, and that's going to be your evening, right? That's going to be good luck. Thanks for coming, right? Go back and cry on your pillow because you're just not going to. It's not going to work for you, right? But that's Z. But Z was like that. I mean, he was for the first couple of years was mesmerizing, and just and Underwood and these guys. I mean, there's so many. The other thing was there were so many good pitchers. I mean, first time I faced Peter Meredith, I throw the ball at her. And he was more of a 2-foot drag guy, and
he was push and drag.
Yeah, I mean, he was 2 foot dragging home, so he kind of did the same thing. He might have in the US might have moved back a couple of inches off the back of the rubber. Well, I couldn't believe how hard he threw. Like holy shit! Like, you know, it was frightening. It was like
I tell the story, Abby. I tell the story about that 92 Challenge Cup. We walked in there with the Team Canada development thing. You were playing with Alcar.
Yeah.
I walk in there and I'm sitting down. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to see, I want to see where I stand here with some of these pitchers. I'm waiting to see Meredith and I'm waiting to see Piak. I want to see Andy. I've seen Andy pitch and Z's there and Jimmy Moore's there. Everybody's there. I walk in. I don't even know where this guy is standing in the middle of the 8 foot and he's throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I'm going, oh, God, what is this? It was T-Bell. And I'm like, he's a push and dragger, throwing 1,000,000 miles an hour out there. Right. So,
and Terry had no idea half the time where it was going. I mean,
didn't care either because he was as big as a house. So
yeah, I mean, what are we going to do with him? He's like the Tom softball. Exactly. What are you going to do with him, right?
Yeah.
And but what was so watching Meredith warm up, like you should pay to go watch him warm up. He'd start like lobbing balls in at 40, 50 feet. By the time he was finished backing up, he'd be in short left field.
With the big ball too, remember?
Yeah, and he would throw a rise ball with this big, looked like a round pillow. He'd throw a rise ball from the middle of left field, and the catcher would almost have to climb up the backstop to catch it.
Wow.
How intimidating is that? Now you got to face him with a little smaller ball from 46 feet. What were you going to do with him? Like it was frightening. Like, I've never like to that point, I've never seen a guy throw that hard. It was mind boggling how you could 2 foot and 2 foot drag and throw the ball there.
For my second or third career at bat against Marty, and I don't think I had a hit. My stats against Marty didn't necessarily jump off the page, but I remember it's probably my third or fourth career ground out against Marty, and I just remember running down at first base, and he just chuckled. I'm trying to beat out the fucking throw. He just chuckled. He said, "Hey, Hilly, I think you're fucking right-handed, but I don't think I got a hit off him after that." For my career.
Marty,
left-handed though. I saw as you got older, I really saw you starting to smash the ball. I go, Jesus Christ, he was right. He's left-handed.
But when it comes to you, Marty, and I think you use this to your advantage too, because you're friends with everybody in the beer tent, right? And your reputation is just as equally impressive in terms of how people talk about you as the best teammate to ever play the game, right? And so you have so many friends in the game. When you go to the beer tent, there's always just a crowd around you and everyone's laughing. But then you got to go out and play you, right? And sometimes you catch yourself getting the batter's box. Oh, there's my buddy Marty out there, and then there'd be a little chuckle or a nod as you're getting in the batter's box. And then I don't know if you guys saw this video of Kobe Bryant where it shows Kobe going from Kobe to Mamba. He's there, he's laughing, and then all of a sudden his face just goes stone. And it makes me think about you as a pitcher, because you could be outside at 8 foot, then you'll have a smile on your face, and then you get in, and then the face just goes stone. And I'm okay. That's Marty out there. Maybe he'll serve one up. They're winning 6-0. Maybe he'll just serve one up down the middle, and then sure enough, it's 89 mile an hour dipper in on your hands and nearly break your thumb off if you're even lucky enough to get a piece of it. But it's for as social and fun to be around when you got in there, especially in how many big games that you've been a part of in the circle. Just what a fierce competitor. And that, we hear
it's a learned thing too, and Abby attest to that, right? So if you go back, you guys came in after all the years where me and Abby were hotheads and mad and everything else too, right? So we weren't always as jovial, and there was a lot of hate in the game when we started, Abby. So there, as the game got smaller, the world got smaller, the game got better at the higher ends. Everybody knew each other a lot better than they did when we started playing, and there was a lot of hate when Alcar would play against Tampa, and the Canadian teams play against American teams for that matter. When you're playing on your club teams too, when we started, and that got less and less. So yeah, I think I probably got to be pretty good buddies with everybody, and we'd hold court in the beer tent, and that's something that I think that changed over the course of time, Lolly. I don't think if you saw me in 1994, 95, and I'm screaming at screaming at a 24-year-old shortstop for kicking a ball in the third inning of a nothing game because he's kicking it, right? So I don't think I'd be considered the same person I was when I was, I'd laugh it off when I was, 35 years old and say, I'll pick you up here, don't worry about it, kid, or whatever the case is. So that's something that came over time. The beer tent was the same. I might have been a different cat in the beer tent when I was 24 years old and I was 34, but I was still trying to do the exact same thing, which is have a ball, right? So I think it's listened to me when I was 34 and I wasn't when I was 24.
But when you guys, we're looking at the sheets that you have here, and when I think it was 1999 was when you guys teamed up on the farm, and you both had won, I believe, one or maybe a couple of ISC championships prior to that season. But when that was your first one, Marty, with the farm, Colin, your second, I believe, and you guys went out, you won the championship that year. Is that right?
Yeah,
that was my first one with the farm. Yeah, the farm won in '97, and I was still with Allcar at that point. That would have been my first one with the farm, and then Marty went in '98. So yeah, that would have been our first one together.
Would you consider that period in your career when you're starting to become established, starting to figure out who you were as ball players? When I'm looking down through when championships started, was that around the period where you guys knew that, okay, you're good at this game, you're figuring out what the league is like? What was that year and that tournament like for you guys? I think
I'll speak for myself. I can't speak for Abby, but I know Abby was already top of the game by then too. But I think before that, I think we knew where our standing was, in 96, whatever, 96, 7 and 8 in Tampa, whatever. I don't think there was too many people that were jumping out of the dugout to get to bat against me then too. So I think prior to that, so I think 99 was probably one of my biggest letdown years. So, I pulled my groin or tore my groin in the Pan Am games in July. And we tried to get, got some cortisone in me and tried to pitch in the ISCs, and that didn't work either. And Alfie went off and had the one of the best tournaments I've ever seen in a pitcher pitch in '99 too. So we crushed the ball as well too. But we played some really good teams along the way in '99. But that was one of the most probably frustrating years I had in my whole career. But I think we're pretty well established by then. Hey, Abby, I think I won a couple MVP pitchers by then. You won a couple MVPs by then.
It was, probably was a couple of years earlier for me. Marty, certainly from 96 on, we won the ISC 94 there with Allcar. And I guess I was probably a couple of years younger and playing on a stacked team. You go from being a middle of the road ISC team at best, and you show up at the ballpark in '94 and you got Sorensen hitting behind you and Rychek and Schott hitting ahead of you. So for me, it probably started around then. But yeah, around that mid '90s area, it was really good. Number one. Allcar and Tampa. We played against one another a fair bit at that point. But to go back, Lolly, what you said before about the competitive nature is that, when you got on the field, nobody wanted to lose, and you were doing whatever you could to scratch and claw to get a hit, in my case, or in Marty's case, to strike somebody out. But I think what we were pretty good at was, once the game was over and you did end up in the beer tent, it was done. Right? I remember, Marty, the story, I hit you in the leg there. When was that, 94?
95 Perth.
95 in Perth. Marty throws me a drop ball that he must have lost control of it because it was about the top of my
tie.
Right? By the top of my, but I proceed to hit the line drive and strikes him right in the leg. Right? So he's down in a ball in the circle, and the ball bounces off his leg to the first baseman, and I'm out. Right? So I run it back and I go, hey, you all right? He's like, what the fuck are you doing swinging at that? And I'm like, fuck, you threw it right in the zone, Mark. Right in the hitting area. What are you doing? That's your fault for putting it right down the middle, right? So
I said, wait, that's a drop ball, you idiot. I said, what are you swinging at, fucking drop? He says, that's where I like
it. So even before we kind of got better acquainted, I guess, it was kind of a meeting of, we kind of met in a odd circumstance, I suppose, in '95. But yeah, like I said, the competitive nature that we had, like I said, what I liked about it was, you're pissed off because you lost the game, lost the big game. By the time you took your spikes off, got to the beer tent, got a beer in you, after that, you was pretty good. Like, it was no I didn't really have any big issues with anybody really in the bear tent. But on the field, when you're competitive, is competitive.
Well, and back then too, boys, you got to think there was so much hate between, you know, the Kiwis, the Canadians, the Americans when you get into the ISF stuff too. So you always kind of knew who your Canadian teammate was going to be when you're playing against or you're playing against whoever, right? So if you had a couple Canadians on that one, Kiwis the exact same way, right? So, you know, it was kind of arm's length at that point too, right? So, you know, we were the 96 and the ISF team. Abby was on that team. I wasn't on that team, but I had probably 4 American guys on the ISF team and probably 3 or 4 Kiwis on our Tampa Bay team. And, you know, the Kiwis and the Americans got in a bench clearing brawl in the ISFs, you know, 3 weeks before the World Tournament, you know, and they go right from there to Pioneer Days to play in the Salt Lake City tournament. And we got to have a team meeting to see if anyone's going to talk to one another. We had Paul Walford, I think, punched, I think it was Jason Hansen in the face in the scrum. And they're, you know, they're batting, you know, they're in the same lineup the next week. So you always kind of knew who the Canadians were that you're going to be playing with, that you're going to, you know, and there's always a certain amount of like a ton of respect for those guys as well too, that you knew you're going to play with. But yeah, there was some interesting times when you had that going on, when there was that much, you know, you guys would see it now too, because the last few years you guys are playing in, it's all, you know, Argentinians, New Zealanders, Australians, Canadians, you guys are all in the super teams together. Right. So
I remember 1999 watching you guys on TSN, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, playing the Pan Am games in Winnipeg. Just, how cool was it to win? Like, I know me and myself, Malali, was to get to do that as well in Toronto, and you know, obviously that is one of the highlights of my career, the coolest feeling. But you know, what was your guys' experience there in Winnipeg in '99?
It was probably one of the highlights of my life too, right? So just standing on the podium in Winnipeg, you know, with the place packed, singing "O Canada," whatever, right? So, you know, it was a theme that we had the whole way along, that we're going to lose in our watch, sort of thing, right? Because the Canadians hadn't lost the Americans yet. So to be a part of it was pretty cool. The TSN thing was awesome. You know, not many people remember, but they showed on the lead into TSN, they showed Jonesy and Adam Smith turning a double play. Where Adam stood in there and took a slide right up to his waist, right? So some American guy came in and just filled him, and Addy didn't even move. Snaps the throw to second base, and it's double play. It's a great double play, one of the best double plays I've ever seen. And that was the lead in the Sports Center at 6 o'clock Sports Center or whatever on TSN, which is, you know, that's a huge one's cap sort of thing, right? So
that was, I mean, it was incredible. You're from your home fans, you know, and to go down to, you know, 3-3, bottom of the 7th, bases loaded, 3-2 on the hitter. Like, you kind of got to that, you know, what you like when you were a kid, right? You're a kid, you're swinging the bat in the backyard. It was 3-2, game on the line, whatever, right? And you know, Kevin Bobrovsky manages to Michael White to tip one off Whitey's glove. Like, that's an out. You know, if Whitey lets that ball go, David Boyce is behind him. He's going to throw somebody out.
Yeah, right? Bob would tell you it's a rocket up the middle.
Yeah, fucking yeah, that's right. Well, absolutely. But it hits Whitey's glove, goes out in the outfield, and it just, I mean, what a, you know, it was awesome. I mean, to be involved with the whole, the opening ceremonies, or, you know, all that. I mean, it was just an awesome event.
Yeah, the walking in on the opening ceremonies, Abby, was one of the coolest things we did, right?
Yeah.
So you walk into Bomber Stadium with the place packed and the wind whistling through, and the buzz of, you know, I don't know how many hundreds of athletes there was in Canada, and you're all walking out a contingent. That was something pretty special.
Yeah. Until after the game, I just got off the podium. Some old lady comes over and goes, "You Colin Abbott?" Yeah. "I'm ready to go drink beer now. We just want to go medal red. I'm ready to go drink beer." She hands me this thing, and I got to put it around my neck. It's got doping right across the. I got here. I am like doing interviews with doping written across my Me and Doug Chase got to go get a drug test. All right. So, like I said, we're pumped, right? And so I go in, and some guys in there who can hardly speak English. He's a South American guy, must be a judge or whatever. So he says, "Have you taken? You take anything? You know what? You know?" And I'm like, "Listen, buddy, I had a day off there a couple of days ago. I woke up, I had a hangover. I took 3 extra Tylenol. I said, if that disqualifies me, I'm out." Right? other than that, I'm good to go. Right? And all the women are playing after us. It's like the 5th inning of the women's game by the time I get out there. We're not allowed to have a beer. Right? So all the boys are out there. They're half drunk by now. Me and Doug Chase were sitting on a picnic table waiting for the Americans to finish their urine test, right? It was, like I said, the memory on the field, awesome. But like the little thing, I never asked to get drug tested too much in my life. It just happened right after the gold medal game, the Pan Ams.
Once is enough.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but Colin, on that game, I mentioned it in another episode on here where there's just that resurgence of these games being posted up on YouTube now and getting the chance. We hear the stories and we get to relive it just through hearing the story in the beer tent or picking your guy's brain and asking you about big games, but to get to see it on YouTube. And we know what it's like to play in the Pan Am games, to play in the championship game on home soil, and just the buzz, the environment, the anticipation, the nerves, everything that comes along with that. But your team depends on you to come up in big situations, and you did what you do, on the top stage. And that first inning you got in, and you pretty well led the charge right out of the gate with that 2-run home run. That must have felt pretty good.
I mean, we hadn't exactly been tearing the cover off it for the whole week. You look at they put our averages up after. I was watching the game after. They put our averages up like I'm hitting as Dean Holam said, I'm hitting a soft taco. I hit about $1.20, right? So you put our averages up and like, holy, how do we even get here, right? Right? Their number 3 hitter is hitting about 120, and but you get in that situation, and I faced Doug Middleton up to that point in my career 1,000 times. You knew he was going to throw drop balls away. He wasn't going to challenge it. He didn't have a great Ross ball. It was the first pitch. He had a good drop ball, good change up. So you knew he wasn't going to challenge it. And I got to a 3-2 count, and there was a base open as well. I think Rosie or Patton was on second base. So I thought they might not, come. They're not going to challenge it too much with a base open. So I kind of went, what? If it's going to be outside corner, I'm going to go after it. I had the ability to hook pitches on the outside corner as well.
I'll say.
Yeah. But he kind of left one up a little bit, and to get a 2-run lead, certainly like that, and to hit a home run, at the Pan Ams in front of your home fans, investors groups, home office was there. So they had like 3 or 4 rows of investors group employees and staff and everything were there as well. So that was kind of cool from a personal,
cool, man.
Right?
Another shameless plug.
Oh, hey, do what you got to do. But I mean, once again, and what was really cool after the game, a little boy comes up to me and goes, "Mr. Abbott," he said, "here's the game ball, or here's the home run that you hit." I said to him, "Here, I'll sign it, and you can have it." And he goes, "No," he said, "I want you to have it." Right? So this is probably 10 or 12 years old. So it's pretty cool to be involved in something like that to help your team out first and foremost, help your team win a game. And doing, like I said, in front of your home fans. I mean, we've all been a part of that now, and it was it's tough to beat really to win with Team Canada.
Yeah, one of the coolest things from our experience that I experienced, and I could still get shivers thinking about it, was it didn't even happen on the ball field. It was, I remember the day before our championship game, and the way it worked in our athletes village, which was like downtown Toronto somewhere, and it was a street basically that led up to where you get the buses. I remember one day we were there. We might have just left the food court or something, and the Canada Rugby Sevens team were walking in, just getting off the bus, and they were limping, and there was blood coming from them, and their ears were wrapped up and bandaged, and they had the gold medals around their neck. And as they were walking into the village, like everyone would just stop, and especially all the Canadian athletes, and just clap, and and I'm getting shivers right now thinking about it. The next day, obviously, we were fortunate enough to win. And just what it felt like to come off that bus with the gold medal and everybody welcome you back to the village and all the Canadian athletes giving you a hand. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever been through.
Yeah, it's pretty cool being a part of the contingent, isn't it? Like it adds another level to the excitement when you're part of something bigger than trying to win a tournament, which is great in its own right. So,
yeah, we were also, I think, Marty, one of the last gold medal games of the entire tournament. Or the entire Pan Am Games, I'm sorry. So from a TSN broadcasting's point of view, we were getting to the point where I don't think we might have been the last game played. Or
the girls are after us.
But we were pretty close to the last game played. So it wasn't like TSN had a whole lot of choices either. Everything was done. Yeah. So Sonic had the stage to ourselves. which, as we all know from a fast pitch softball point of view, you don't get to stage yourself very often on a national TV because it's just not
right.
It's not there, right? So the one time that you get it, and to win, and to do it in dramatic fashion, and it's all, like I said, it's stuff that you'll never forget.
We're going to have 5 or 6 episodes with you guys on here. There's so many things that we got written down. But before we wrap things up, there's a few other things I want to make sure we get out in this episode. First of all, I want to apologize to you two guys. Back in 2009, when we were at the ISFs up in Saskatoon, and when you're at these tournaments, you get the vans, right? Everyone has the van that they go through. And it was the two of us, Wolfie, Eider, and Dino, I believe, and Tosh might have been in there. I think there was a pack with 7 of us. And then you guys are playing your old school music, classic rock, and I'm in the back saying, boys, what in the fuck are you putting on here? Like, put on some, I remember the song, it was Akon, something by Akon. And then you guys are shaking your head at me saying, like, what the fuck kind of music is this, Ollie? Like, you don't know what music is, right? And then it's not until recently, till when we're going to these nationals and you get some of the young guys on the Newfoundland team coming out and they're putting on some of this new rap music, like black and yellow. I don't know what the fuck kind of song it was. And I'm up there doing the same thing, shaking my head. So if that's how I came and showed up to that van, I want to apologize to you because I really have an appreciation for it right now.
Can you tell me what Akon is?
Akon.
Yeah.
What would that even be?
It's a construction company, isn't it?
We had to do, remember, and the reason I had Akon is because we had to do a 4-minute plank to make the national team. And anyway, there's this song by I think it was called Right Now, Right Now, whatever. It was an Akon song. It was 4 minutes and 3 seconds long. So whenever we're training to do that, I just press play on Akon and then just fall down when he stopped singing. So that's why I don't know, it just had a special place for me. But I know
it's a good thing you're not listening to Freebird then.
Yeah. We'll stare at
heaven. Do a plank to Freebird. That would be good.
Yeah.
Imagine listening to Jody 8 for 12 minutes doing the plank.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Doing his moaning.
Hey, Barty, you got to tell the Jody 8 story about the 2 triples.
Oh man.
You can't leave and not tell that story.
Oh,
my favorite on-field moment, favorite softball story. You got to walk us through that, Marty.
Yeah, we're playing against what was the name of the team?
Was it Kegel?
Yeah, it might have been Kegel, wasn't it? So
the little slapper, yeah. No.
Yeah, Lucas Goring's at the bat. He leads off the game. Leads off the game, hits a number in front of home plate. Jody's playing third, and he picks it up, throws it in the right field corner. Lolly, you're playing right field, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, throws it into Lolly. Lolly playing catch with Lolly, so that goes for a triple. He goes to third base. And then we get out of the inning. That's the leadoff too. So we get out of the inning, and he comes back up to bat in the third or the fourth or whatever. Whenever he comes back again, same thing. Hits a number in front of home plate. And I remember that one because he throws it to Lolly again, and Lolly you got all tangled up in the tarp, I think, didn't you?
I wasn't expecting him. I thought I was getting ready to go in the dugout.
Yeah, you're getting tangled up in the tarp there where they tarp the field. So he gets to third base again, and we get out of the inning. It's still 0-0. It's a really tight game, actually. I think Gossi was actually thrown against us that game. So it was he threw a good game. It was a really good game. So anyways, he comes up to bat, I guess probably the sixth inning, and Jody calls time and walks over and says, Marty, he grabs the ball to my hand. He's rubbing it up. He says, Marty, he says, careful of this guy. He said, he's got 2 triples this game.
I'm out in right field when this is happening, right? So it's a tight game, like Marty said. And then, so you see time call, and Patty Shannon comes out, and Jody walks over, and I'm out in right field, can't really see what's going on. Just like, okay, what are they talking about? You get some sort of game plan here. And then I just see Patty Shannon drop down to one knee, and then Marty just starts walking back towards second base, and the boys are bent over laughing. And then we get out of the inning and come back in. I said, boys, what the fuck just happened on the mound? And here to tell the story. And then the whole dugout just falling down laughing. It's by far.
Well, you play with certain guys, pretty colorful guys on the corners, right? So after you strike somebody out, or after an inning, or after an out, or whatever the case is, too. So and Jody's got the sense of humor too, that he could. It'd make you laugh, and it'd also make you want to, drive into the oncoming traffic on the way out of the ballpark too, right? So throw it in there. Jody, you give up a bomb or something and walk in, and Jody would say, that was, 68 miles an hour from where I stood.
Yeah. Marty, when we were playing in, where did we play in Nebraska? It was 4,000 degrees.
In Plat Douche in the
we play in Grand Island. Marty's having a little trouble with his changeup at the time. So
that was after my surgery.
Yeah. Changeup's going everywhere. So Marty throws a changeup that hit just slightly below the top of the backstop.
I threw about 10 in a row there.
Yeah. And the ball hits the backstop and rolls down the third base side. And Todd Budke picks the ball up and he walks over and he goes, Marty, can't believe you're laying off that one. I go 0-2 on every batter. I was trying to get after I had my surgery on my groin. So I was trying to get some confidence back in. I go 0-2 on every batter, and then I throw 3 changeups off the backstop. I just throw it all over the ballpark, trying to figure out where my feet are, where my delivery was. And Butter just, keep throwing it. Yep, get off it. So we can't tell third baseman stories though. Telling Butter's story in Aurelia when we played the rainout game and lost. So we play. It comes down in buckets on the Saturday, and we were like, "No way we're playing Saturday. No way we're playing Saturday." So Colin, you and I went to the casino. Yeah.
So we ended up spending 12 hours in the casino, which we weren't drinking, so everybody else was. We go on a tour afterwards, pick everybody up, driving back to the hotel. So Butter was full, and the next morning we end up losing the debate on whether or not we're going to play. We end up playing Broken Bow in the morning, and there's a little nubber in front of. This is like, I don't know, let's call it 3-2 or 4-3 at the time of the game, whatever, in the 5th or 6th inning. And there's a little nubber in front of Butter, and Butter's playing third base. He runs in to pick it up, and he steps on his own glove and does a somersault right in front of it. He stood on his own glove with his hand in it. And face plants down. And they end up scoring 2 runs in that inning, whatever, off it. And we laughed. Oh my God, we laughed because we didn't think there's any. We shouldn't even play on the diamonds anyways. They were like playing on a bowl of porridge, right? So, but you can't tell. You got to tell Butter stories if you're going to talk about third base standing over there and breaking the tension from a pitcher standpoint.
Oh, that's hilarious. Marty, when we got to play together, I told a story when we were talking to Grazer about when me and Blair Ezigal went to your room for the first time, and a couple of people in there, and then you said we're not leaving here until we drink all those beer, and it was our first introduction to you. But that year,
well, that's when the really in the Kitchener amalgamation, right? So it was still kind of felt kind of separated, right? This is an early tournament, right? So it kind of felt separated. So I figured we'd do it together.
Well, what was really cool when I look back on that time, for me, that's when I really understood what the difference between regular run-of-the-mill ISC teams and a professionally ran organization with the best players in the world. And it's not just the talent, it's the things away from the field. How do you build that chemistry? What's that magic potion that makes a great team a great team? And that was my first time really getting to understand what that meant. And there's a couple of stories from that year that I'll never forget. And one, just me being head and shoulders above everybody else when it came to poker, when we played the Kitchener.
Oh, fuck. I knew this was coming.
We had the Kitchener Poker Tour is what done up. And we had LZ, Wolfie, Eider, Marty, Patty Shannon. We had Fairman, the whole team. We go down there. And then every weekend we would get together and we play back at the hotel, game after game. Everyone threw in kitty, and then at the end of the year, halfway through the ISC, we'd have the final table. And LZ got this KPT bracelet done up, right? And anyway, sure enough, I told you the whole year, Marty, we were going back and forth, just the whole year. I said, I'm coming for you. And I just snuck into the final table, and sure enough, come away. I still got that bracelet to this day upstairs.
I never seen more luck in 1 hour. The last hour we played that tournament too. It's just horse shit. So for all your listeners out there, don't believe a word of the last 45 seconds, whatever just came out of Stephen Wally's mouth.
That's bullshit, man. I got the bracelet. You don't.
You do have the bracelet. You do.
Yeah.
What was Abby's an aficionado of poker. What was it? Chris Moneymaker? Moneymaker's got a bracelet too, right? So the worst poker player ever in the history of the world.
Apparently anybody can win one, Lolly.
Yeah. So that's where you take out of that story, Lolly.
You may be right, but as I tell it like I'm Daniel Negreanu when it comes to this stuff, right? But that tournament, the championship game, Marty, in 08 is by far, it has to go down as one of the best games ever play. But that's when you really, in my mind, you separated yourself from every other pitcher I played with. When you came in after Frank went down with his groin or his knee or something, and you came back into that game, right?
Yeah, because we played them. Well, I think I had 4 appearances that day in 2 days, in 2 games. So I started the first game. I came out of that one, and then we ended up going 13 innings in that one. I came back in through the last 6 of that one, and then started the final, and then came out down 3-0, and then came back in when we lit them up in the 6th and through the 7th too. So yeah, it was. But again, that's the way the IC is at the end of the how they do it now is it's all end loaded so much is that it's a battle of attrition for pitchers, right? So
I'm in there with my I got morphine and I can't play because I blew my shoulder out.
Separated shoulder, yeah.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of the biggest game of the year, and you go out, grab the ball, and you talk about throwing change-ups off. I think the first 3 warm-up pitches you threw hit damn near the top of the backstop, and then you come in, I think it was a 2-2 count when you took over, and you just threw this blinding change-up at the Scrappy. He swang and missed, and holy shit, man, the place went up. And then we go on, and then you talk about cream rising to the crop. You got Jody Ite and Wolfie and Blair and Patty Shannon just coming through the way they do in big situations. What a game that was.
That was pretty impressive team, pretty impressive lineup. It was a pretty neat ball game, too, to be a part of, right? So was the morning game that went 13 innings. So that was back and forth as well, too. But, it was a pretty special team, I thought, too. It was, we had a good run for a few years in a row.
I'd say we had more fun than you guys. We were just outside the first baseline there. Probably had stone pizzas in me by then. And
I've sat there before.
Stories. You guys look like you're having fun.
So I know exactly what you're doing. I had more fun.
But Abby, I want to ask you. Just we talk about you two guys probably more than any other ball players, but there's a lot of focus on the growth and development of the game in Newfoundland and the presence now over the last number of years, and it all comes back in our minds and the guys that are coming up to you when you made that jump and really the first guy to do it. When you look back now, seeing the way the game has developed and the impact that you've had, and what do you think? What comes to mind to you when you think about the state of the game and what's happened with the development in Newfoundland?
I mean, when you're in it, when you're still playing, you don't really, I guess, get to see or feel or understand what's going on. You had a sense of what was going on. You guys were coming up. Yourself and Jason and the Bolins and the Esigals and, all these young kids were coming up. So while I was still playing, you had an idea of what, there's a bunch of young kids coming up here, but you never really got the sense of it. I never really got the sense of it, I think, until I stopped playing at the ISC level, which was 12 years ago now. But to see you guys come up and to do what you're doing now and over the last number of years, I mean, to me, it's fantastic. I mean, to look back, and if I had any small part in any of that, I mean, I'm extremely proud, grateful, whatever word you want to use. But you guys, I think, have taken it to, you've taken it to another level. You're 6 or 7, 8 guys on the national team. If Newfoundland has won, I don't know how many nationals in a row. You're on ISC teams that win. There's always a Newfoundlander or 2 on some ISC team that wins. The fact that I just think the level you guys have brought it to was something, I don't know anybody could have forecast or seen. But for me, I think it's absolutely awesome to see what your guys are doing. You're seeing Ryan Boland with the Avalon Fundamentals, I think it's called, and forgive me if I got it wrong, but now you're starting to see private softball schools. You guys are giving back to the game to build another group of kids who are 8, 10, 12, 16, whatever years old. But I mean, for me, if I had a little part in anybody's success from Newfoundland, then I'm certainly more than proud to be associated with, the run of Newfoundland success over the last, really 12, 15 years, let's say. But like what you guys are doing is awesome. I mean, you've picked the ball up and ran with it and absolutely just brought it to another level. Right. And like I said, if I had a small part in that, then I'm very proud and to say if I helped you guys out at all, hey,
that's an understatement to say the least. And it's not just us in Newfoundland. I know that kind of trickles across North America, across the world. But Marty, Newfoundland has a pretty close place in your heart too. You're kind of a transplanted Newfoundlander as well. You'll always be associated with the province when it comes to softball as well.
I think so. I think I'm an honorary Newfie, that's for sure. I think I played half a dozen Canadians with you guys in a row, and yeah, I had so much fun, and with that group of guys too. And certainly stemmed from Abby saying, in '98, how about you come join Newfoundland next year? And we did that for half a dozen years in a row, I think, and. Yeah, it was a ball. I met some great people. We had some great, really, really good teams too. And I still say that we would have won one of them if they had to let Ward Goss pitch. They just kept the legal pitch in the middle of the tournament, right? So it got to the point where it was just, here's the ball, Marty. Let us know when you can't squeeze it anymore. So because Goss you get tossed out because of jumping or whatever. So we put a couple scares into a couple of pretty good teams from Ontario and BC along the ways too. So. Grabbed a medal or two, I think, along the way as well. So yeah, I had a ball with the Newfs.
I mean, it took us a while from a nationalist point of view. It took us a while to win, but now it's almost an expectation, And you guys have come back into fold, and because for years, I mean, I've won with other provinces, Nova Scotia, Saskatchewan, BC, all good to win. But you still wanted to, you want to win with your home province. And it took a while to get all the Newfoundlanders back playing on the one team. And that's what kind of started this run of the national championships that you guys are on. And once that happens, your success is just, you won, what was it, 6 out of 7, 7 out of 8. I'm after losing track of how many goals you guys after winning.
Yeah,
we beat you in the final, the one in Ontario, and I said that to you guys afterwards. You guys are going to win all of them now. Like it's you guys should have probably won that one too, but I was just
going to say I remember vividly when we were pretty dejected in the beer tent. That was probably the only game we lost that tournament, and I remember we were kind of heads down and just kind of sobbing over our beers, whatever. And I remember Marty coming over to a group of us and. Might have been the Esgles and myself and Lolly and whoever it was. And he was like, put your head up, fellas, like heads up. He said, when you win one, he said, you're going to win a bunch. And, it took a couple of years and sure enough, that's exactly what we did.
You never look back.
Well, fellas, we don't want to keep you here all night. There's 1,000 things written down here that we just never had a chance to get to tonight. I do want to save some of these stories to get you guys back if you'd be up for it. It's an absolute 100%. Pleasure. Absolute pleasure to get on here with you guys, heroes of ours, and just the privilege of becoming your teammates and becoming your friends along the way. And like I said to begin with, just two of the most influential softball players to ever play the game, not just on our career, but on Canadian Fast Pitch, ISC Fast Pitch, and an absolute treat for us to be able to reminisce some of that with you. So thank you so much.
Hey, listen, guys. A lot of fun. Yeah, a lot of fun. I'd love to come back again. I mean, I got to tell you how bad our roommate Martin was. So that could be a whole episode right there.
Oh, I got stories on that.
He's definitely not your favorite roommate. I already know who that was. So,
well, you know what? Hang on a second. Let's give a little teaser because Hilly and I were talking about that today, and I'm here scratching my head because there's something I wanted to talk about on this episode. And yes, it was the roommates. And Hilly. We were talking earlier about these two guys roomed together for years. You and I roomed together for years, and you and Abby roomed. And you still maintain that you're the best roommate to ever friggin' set foot into a softball team. But Abby, what was it like rooming with a young Jason Hill and having to travel with him every friggin' weekend?
First and foremost, he was so young he couldn't even rent a car, so I had to do all the driving, right? Right, so Jesus, I mean, he had a picture, his passport picture, like he was like 15 years old. Like I'm going through the border, they must be thinking I'm taking a child across the border with me, right? What's going on here? And I mean, I don't think he wasn't even shaving back then, right? So, but he didn't snore, which was a good thing, right? He couldn't drive, but he didn't snore. So that was, I guess, that puts him way above Martin when it comes to from the roommate point of view.
Don't even start on the snoring act. Jesus Christ.
All right, you are more of a like an early morning snorer. Right,
I slept all night because you wouldn't snore. I slept the whole night because you snore the whole goddamn night. That's why I'm snoring in the morning.
Well, I mean, that's right. I got to sleep late at night. You got to sleep early in the morning. That was pretty much.
I got to tell a funny story about Abby and like we got a million of them when we're rooming together. But the one of my favorite things ever is we're rooming together, and I think it was Kimberly in 03. And so we go in there after day one, and my bed's made up nice and perfect, and Abby's is not. It's like it's a rat's nest, and there's a shirt on it. And they said that if you leave any article of clothing on your bed, then they won't touch it. They won't move it to do anything. That's just part of their policy. So the next day I come in, I'm like 30 seconds ahead of Abbott, and I walk in, and both beds are made up perfect. So I just grab his bed and I turn it to shit. Right? I throw a shirt in the middle of it. So Abby walks in again, and he snaps. He's like, "What the fuck?" Right? And he starts looking around. He saw, Jesus Christ, I left the shirt in here again. So, 3, he does it again. He walks in, and I got the whole thing twisted up, and I throw a sock in there. And he's like, now he's mad, right? Now he's snapping. He's starting to lose his shit. Day 4, I'm right in the middle. I got the whole thing twisted up and turned upside down. And he comes in. He says, "I'm going to kill you." I kept doing it. So yeah, we had some fun. We had some funny stories. We roomed together. There's no doubt.
Oh yeah. There was it was never a dull moment. I put it to you that way. It was
that's for sure.
Yeah.
When he started talking about losing the car.
Oh fuck. That was it. That was the same when Fargo.
Yeah. Next episode, boys. Next episode.
Yeah. We'll keep that story for next one. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to put it on the books, boys. It's just too good. I want to hear more about the Martin Shuffle. We talked about with Grazer, and that's just a half an episode in itself.
Did you guys do the Rob Gray diving after the ball in Fargo story with Grazer?
No.
Oh my God! Well, we'll definitely tell that one. That was
shaky eyes. Tough to play out there.
Yeah, Robbie Gray, outfield prowess right there. There's no tell that.
I got shaky eyes, Marty. That's my problem. I got shaky eyes. I'm not sure what that is, but
yeah, there might have been some alcohol in Robbie's running after the ball in the outfield, and his eyeballs are shaking up and down.
No doubt.
Well, Hilly, how cool was this, man?
Listen, it was an absolute honor to have you guys on with us. Like I said, there's a million stories we didn't even touch on, but maybe we're going to have to make a 3 or 4 part mini-series with 2 of you guys, and who knows, maybe we'll get Grazer on here to talk about his outfield adventures. But anyway, I just want to say thanks, and I hope you guys had a good time and for joining us, and we look forward to doing it again.
Yeah, we'll put this down as part 1, fellas.
Sounds good to me.
Absolutely. Love to do it again.
I can talk ball all day with you guys.
Yeah. 2 of the best right there, Hilly. And Lucas, Nick, let's hear a little bit of Rum Ragged to take us out.
Get out of here! I told you, Mr. Drama.
I used to be a ladies' man, but I'm a man now. For courting 6 girls all at once, they used
Say
me
bye-bye
around.
baseball!
My mother said it was naughty, I should
Tony's
listen to her
eyes,
back.
my, oh my.
But I said if it's naughty, sure it's also very